This video isn't going to have any structure. I don't have a script for it. I'm probably not even going to make a thumbnail for this video because I believe this video is going to reach the people or the person that it needs to reach. And what I want to talk about is something that I feel like is only going to continue to become more normalized. Something that I feel like is only going to continue to worsen over time. And that is this false sense of perfection, or this false sense of entitlement. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example, is people being so entitled to being this version of themselves that's pushed online and that's, like I said, becoming so common and just accepting, like, hey, I'm this, I'm that they just get worse, you know? And like I said, I'll give you an example, and you may have to bear with me because I know I'm probably not going to say this perfectly, but take this as an example. The fat acceptance movement, right? My body's perfect, and I'm happy. I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm the most beautiful version of myself, right? Especially like for fat women, but probably fat men too, right? It was a big wave, and it's probably still a big wave now, to where this fat acceptance thing was really, really big. But the reality of it is like you're freaking fat, right? Like you're fat, you're overweight, and you're not actually happy with the way that you look, but you're using these coping mechanisms to make yourself seem better than what you really are, and because of that you're going to stay fat, you're going to stay stuck, you're going to stay this version of you that you don't want to be, because you refuse to realize, or you refuse not to realize, you refuse to admit that you are not the version of yourself that you want to be, and you refuse to admit that you're not good enough at the thing that you want to be good at, and you refuse to admit that you need to actively work towards or actively improve to be this version of yourself that you're acting like you are, right? And I hope you guys are able to grasp what I'm really saying here, right? The whole message of this video that I want to send out to you guys is that you have to realize you suck. You have to realize you're not as disciplined as you want to be. You have to realize you're not where you want to be. You have to realize you're not the version of yourself that you want to be yet. And does that mean you should just look in the mirror and cry and throw a brick at it every time you go in the bathroom? No. But what that means is that you're actively taking steps to improve, even if it's a little bit each day. And not sitting down and participating in this coping tea party that everyone else is participating in because it feels good, right? Like, how can you grow? How can you improve? How can you achieve the things that you want to achieve if you refuse to admit that, hey, I need to be better in this area? You know, like, you have to admit that you're not as smart, or you're not as kind, or you're not as disciplined, or you're not as consistent, or you're not as whatever it may be, in order to slowly improve in that area and ultimately actually become better, and not just pretty much gaslight yourself or try to gaslight other people into believing that you're better than what you actually are, right? Like, improvement starts when you actually start to admit that you freaking suck. Improvement starts when you're actually able to admit, hey, maybe I'm not as good at this, as good as this as I thought I was. You know? And until you're able to do that, you're never going to grow. All right? Like, if you're not able to sit down and have that conversation with yourself, if you're not able to admit, and if you have too much of this pride or too much of this entitlement, and you're allowing it to kind of skew your view on what's actually going on, then you're never going to grow. You're going to be that delusional loser of a man that never achieved anything because he refused to take feedback, he refused to improve himself, and he refused to face reality because he wanted to feel good. right? You need to feel pain. You need to feel suffering in order to improve. And I'm not just saying like in the gym. This is in every aspect of your life. Like you need to feel the pain of knowing that you're not good at something in order to get good at something. But I feel like it's being so pushed to think the opposite of this now, because the masses of people don't want to face pain. They don't want to face reality. Like, why do you think there's so many people just on drugs right now, or just doing all these things to escape their reality? Is because it's painful to face. It sucks to have a conversation with yourself and be like, dude, I suck. I need to do better. I haven't been being as disciplined. I haven't been, thinking the way that I've been needing to, and I've been lacking in this area. Like I had to have this conversation with myself recently, very, very recently. And it didn't feel good to admit that I was thinking in a way that I shouldn't have been thinking, that I was acting in a way that I shouldn't have been acting, and that I wasn't performing in a way or doing enough that I needed to do to actually move myself forward. That doesn't feel good. But the only people who are actually able to grow are the people who are able to admit that growth is necessary. If you're perfect, if you were just on top of the world person in your own mind, and you can't do any wrong, and you're just, like I said, you're just perfect, you're never going to grow. You're never going to improve. Like, this is a stupid example, but I'm pretty sure I was like the fastest kid in like 3rd grade, right? You remember we had recess and they'd race. Everyone would race, and the fastest kid in the class was, like he was the guy, right? Like I'm pretty sure that was me. And I remember being like, oh, fastest kid, right? So since I knew like, oh, I'm the fastest kid, and obviously this is a stupid example, but I want you to understand this. I was like, oh no, I'm the fastest kid. I don't need to work on anything. I don't got to practice. I don't got to do this. I don't got to do that. And then I got freaking passed up in 4th grade. And then I had to face the reality that, dang, I'm not really the fastest kid anymore. And that was that. But it's a stupid example, but that's exactly what happens in life, but just over a longer time period. Right? Like if you continue to allow social media to lie to you, and you continue to consume all this content to where, people are telling you don't need to improve, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, you're perfect, you if you're fat and ugly and you hate yourself, then you really are beautiful and you're in shape and you love yourself, and in reality, like that's not the truth. Right? Like if you accept these things, before you know it, you're going to face the reality one way or another. And if you face the reality that you're not good enough when you're forced to, versus facing the reality that you're not good enough so you can't improve, those are going to be 2 completely different experiences. Those are going to be 2 completely different feelings. On one hand, like I did recently, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You need to get better. You need to be more disciplined. You need to improve yourself. You need to learn more. You need to do all these things. So let's set up a plan in order to get better over time, because growth is necessary here. Or you were an old man, you realize all your life you just chased women, did drugs, went to parties, didn't become the man that you really could have, and now you're on your deathbed just realizing that you're a freaking loser. That's like, before you know it, like you're gonna have to face it at some point in time. But like I said, I don't have a script for this video, and I really just wanted to get that message across, and I'll just kind of reiterate it so you guys are able to really take this home. Is that unless you realize that you freaking suck, unless you realize that you're not happy with your physique, you're not happy with your mindset, you're not happy with your relationship, and something needs to change, and not everything is perfect, and you're not coping and being like, oh, this is great, I'm this beautiful, amazing version of myself, and I don't need to grow, I don't need to change, I don't need to improve, I don't need to do anything. Like, bro, you got to throw that mindset out the window, or you're just going to be stuck in the same spot. And then you're just going to be a delusional loser who's happy, but he's really just freaking coping, right? Like, you need to improve, and in order to do that, you have to see that I'm lacking in this area. or I'm not doing as good as I need to be in this area, or I'm getting upset too easily, or I'm giving into temptations too easily, or I'm doing whatever it may be. Find your flaws and work on it. You need to constantly find what needs to be improved. I mean, like, it's good to be positive, but like that, it's a complete different conversation, you know, from being positive and being delusional so you can, you know, just cope and feel good about yourself in the moment, you know. Yeah. Cat's right here. Moach. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh, she doesn't know when I come. You guys can kind of see her right there. But yeah, that's the video. I'm just gonna post this, bro. It's like the most raw video I can post. Hopefully it helps someone. Love you guys. Jesus loves you too, and adios. They're not stop.